admitting that you don't know for
Mm,
some people is a very scary thing, but is very authentic if it's the truth.
yeah. Yeah.
Don't pretend that you got the answer if you don't.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to the Leadership Syllabus. I'm your series host and leadership performance coach, John Jaramillo. The Leadership Syllabus podcast provides insights from leaders on the main leadership lesson they've learned from their work, life, and experiences and who they are as a person. Each 30-minute mod will capture a bit of who the person is, the guest, their work, and the one lesson they would contribute to the Leadership Syllabus. This collection of mods will offer you a one-series stop of real-world and life lessons to enhance your own self-understanding, awareness, and effectiveness in leadership and in life. And today's mod is on authentic communication. And our contributor today is Jess Mand. And Jess is a strategic communicator, writer, and founder of INDEMAND Communications, where she helps purpose-driven leaders, organizations clarify their voice and vision. She's the author of the Enchanted Manifesting Journal, a guided tool for aligning intention with inspired action. With a passion for meaningful dialogue and transformative storytelling, Jess empowers people to lead with authenticity on the page, on stage, and in life. And I had Jess on the leadership podcast, the Book Leads, Impactful Books for Life and Leadership, my flagship leadership series, podcast series, if you'll call it that. And that was all the way back in October of 2021, where she was on episode 11. And we talked about the book, Frequency, the Power of Personal Vibration. And it's incredible, Jess, to think, I mean, obviously we've been in communication since then, but that was episode 11 over 4 years ago.
Wow.
And just thinking about how much has happened in your life, my life, our collective group and community, in the world at large, that's another story. But thank you for trusting me then in such a young series, and thank you for coming back for this series.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's always great to have conversations and have a connection like this. So I'm thrilled to be here again.
Absolutely, I agree. Jess, why don't we start with, how would you describe yourself? Who are you as a person?
Okay.
Let's just jump right into it.
As a person, I think one of the things that everyone would agree on is that I am a connector. So I bring people together. If you have an idea, but you don't know where to go with it, I can help, find the way for you or lead you to places or people that might be able to help. If you have a new opportunity or are looking for a new opportunity, I usually know a guy somewhere, somehow. And so I think that's a little bit of my special sauce, is being a connector. I believe in good energy. And I mean, I believe in good energy hygiene for myself, for my community, for connecting with people. I think we are stronger together, as a community and as communicators, and we can only be better, when we stand side by side, basically.
We'll dive deep into that when you come back on my other podcast where we have more time, right?
Yep.
But in general, where do you think that comes from in you?
That
connector, that desire to bring community together. Where could you pin that back to?
Gosh, yeah, that's an interesting question. Because I will be honest, formerly I was a very shy person, and did not feel comfortable necessarily being in a room crowded with people. And maybe it's learning how to understand my own energy and balancing that and knowing how to show up, but also when to stay quiet and check out. It's knowing that, but I can't pinpoint a moment in time where it was this aha moment, like, whoa, this is, what gets me going. But I love being around people, and I love being around, thinkers and doers like you, John. So.
I appreciate that. Jess, what can you share? What do you want to share about your work? Just so we get a sense of who's sharing this mod with us. What can you tell us about the work that you're doing day in and day out? What does that look like?
I'm helping people tell their most authentic stories, whether it's their personal authentic stories, the stories of their company, their organization, their team, whatever it may be, and helping them express that to a wider audience. So people know who these people or companies or organizations or teams, what they're out for in the world. It's not just about making money, it's actually like making the connection, bringing people forward so they can understand what your mission is as a company or as a person. So, and that's what, in-demand communications has allowed me to do that to my fullest extent. I did it for many years in corporate America, working for IBM and Cigna and AIG, and now I get to do it in my own space, my own world, and choose the people that I love to work with. So,
Amazing. Now, what has, aside from the leadership aspect that we'll get to, what has your work taught you? What's the biggest lesson you've taken away from your work or your own business, whatever that career path journey has looked like? What's the biggest lesson you've taken away?
so communicating with authenticity, communicating with clarity, being clear on who you are and the messages you want to express, whether you're leading a company or leading in your own life. People are looking for direction, and clarity is everything.
What maybe there was a moment or an experience. You've talked about how you were shy and obviously you've evolved, but then what was it that kind of triggered your push for your support, your specialization in clarity?
Mhm.
Was there a moment? Was there a stepping stone in your career that really demonstrated to you the power of how you demonstrate your story? You can show up, you can be loud, you can be who you are, but was there a moment that kind of informed for you the way in which you, because you can show up and be who you are, but that doesn't mean everybody's going to catch on to who you are.
Right.
So where did the clarity in the messaging, when was that aha moment for you that demonstrated to you the value of what that looks like of really getting that message right?
So I guess I can point to the time of my life, the time in my career when I was leading um, basically a town hall program, an international town hall program for a very influential executive at IBM. And I did a lot of the work behind the scenes, writing his talking points, making sure he shined on stage, all of the ways that he would communicate with PowerPoints, and being able to see, him on the stage actually build that rapport with the audiences, the thousands upon people that he spoke to, was really empowering to me. But it also gave me permission to step a little bit forward even more in my most authentic self and allow that, that personality to show through and be connecting with him and his audience as well. So I could, infuse a little bit of my spark and wit into the communications that I delivered for him, which allowed him to then, bring it forward to those audiences. And I'm doing that now too. I'm working with a new client and, they needed some help with some of their communications. They're asking for donations for the their year-end charitable work. And I kind of changed the message to make it a little bit more magical, a little bit more interesting. I want people to be able to connect with the message and lean into, what we're all about.
What have you seen, just jumping off script here, what have you seen in terms of this particular skill, this particular need at large, like in society? You can, it may be tied to COVID, it may be tied to politics, but in general, even above business, outside of business that, you and I can discuss here, above that, what have you seen in terms of like just authentic communication and what's changed? I think things like COVID had made things more urgent. Like
Hmm.
it's not, you can't be as passive, I guess,
Right.
as we used to be. So, what are your thoughts on just how that's evolved in the greater scope, like in the world at large, in general?
I think it's really important for people to acknowledge and remember that it's not about just delivering a message. It's about delivering a message that speaks from the heart. and will create action. Like you can communicate all you want to people, asking for a donation, asking for this or that, or selling a product. But if you're not coming forward with authenticity, people are going to ignore it. The more you can infuse your sense of self and personality into a message, it's going to show up as real. People will want to know more, read more. And that's been my goal. Like I put together this series of 5 communications, and I'm hoping people want to continue to read the story that's kind of in the messaging. Even though we're asking for donations, there is a magical story being told.
Yeah. So one other thing that I've seen a lot is every kind of mod title, every kind of issue has its moment, right? I don't think this is one that is passing. This is one that has to stick around. But what does get lost is the interpretation of what authentic means,
Yeah.
where people may say, bring yourself to work or to the project or whatever it may be at hand. And then people say, well, I can be completely myself. So what do you say? Where's the balance? How should somebody look at that in terms of, okay, yeah, bring yourself, but
Yes, and
where,
bring
yes,
yourself, but
like
know
where are
thyself.
the guardrails? Like, what does that look like?
I think it's different for everybody, right? I mean, you have to understand your own personality. And I'm not going to show up, wearing my gorgeous top hat at a regular event, right? I just won't do
Yeah.
that. I want to show up as an authentic person, but I also want to be taken seriously. So you've just got to walk the line of, speaking your truth, but not going overboard, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. That's one of those things where I've seen it a lot, spoken to a lot, spoken about a lot, authenticity, how important it is. But then that other side also about, yeah, but the bad thing about things like this, topics we discuss, is that people either jump on them, learn about them, or they dismiss them because they just accept them as an absolute, meaning
Yeah.
that there's no moderation, that there's no nuance to it based on who you are. People may hear authentic and they're like, well, this person's just going to come in and do whatever they want. They're just going to feel like they can come in and put their feet up and say whatever. But at the same time, you have to do your due diligence. So even though you get that permission to be your authentic self and be authentic in your communication, there is that due diligence you have to do about the arena that you're in, the workplace that you're in, the society that you're in,
Yeah.
that you have to kind of measure all these things. It's a balancing act. It's an ongoing balancing act.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And I mean, speaking to my earlier point of showing up shy back in the day, you know, I didn't feel empowered to have a voice. I was given permission to have a voice at the tables that I was sitting at, but I didn't have the confidence to be my authentic self and feel confident about my opinions. I would sometimes hedge, but this is what comes with maturity, right? And I think many of us over the past 5 years and the challenges of the past 5 years have grown exponentially. Um, and so that's been one of the biggest gifts for me through the shutdown and everything, was really leaning into the comfort I have about my authentic self and letting it show.
Yeah. So, Jess, can you think of some examples, not naming names, where the lack of authentic communication might have cost a leader or cost somebody that you work with, whether it was in your arena, in your ecosystem, or something that you saw, in pop culture or in the public eye? Is there something that stands out, even if you just give an example of what it is that you saw, where you felt, okay, this isn't landing because it's not authentic? Maybe it's too scripted, too cold, whatever it may be. Do you have anything that comes out? Or even if you just give an example of what one may look like that is
Hmm.
kind of the opposite of what we need here, what we're talking about.
I mean, the thing that's popping up in my mind are like communications that come out from pharmaceutical companies but they're very cut and dry. If they're advertising for a product or a drug, sure. What I'm thinking of as you ask this question is reframing it in the opposite. What are some communications I've seen that have been authentic, that have really delivered the message and connected? And it's companies that have a sense of self and personality, like Mini Cooper. Let's see, who else? Lego. Lego has a clear sense of self. They lean into the play aspect of their product. Um, you know, that's where I'm thinking.
Yeah, because there's been just, I don't know, like businesses, obviously, there's a lot of businesses that have been around for decades. Um, they know the formulas that do work,
Hmm.
but then it gets to a point where you kind of hear the same messaging over and over, like it's kind of cookie cutter, like it's boilerplate, that there is no nuance to it of like self-awareness. I love that you brought that up, that
Yeah.
self-awareness and how important it is
And it
to
applies to
to
brands.
authenticity.
Absolutely. Brands and
Yeah.
companies should be self-aware as well.
Yeah. Can you speak to more about that, the self-awareness of brands?
Um, so when I look at one of my favorite brands of all time and favorite executives, that would be the Virgin brand, and it would be Richard Branson. And he's I don't know if you know his story, but he started, by launching a self-published newsletter about music. And he was a dyslexic kid who did terrible in school. And from that, he leaned into what he knew he could do. And his motto, his motto, I believe, is "Fuck it, I will figure it out." So he never found he never stood down from a challenge, and he always figured it out, but he came forward with a sense of adventure and joy and playfulness. And I like when I had my chance, every single Virgin brand I experienced as much as I could, whether it was the airline, the vodka. He launched a beauty brand back in the 90s, all sorts of different things. But he did it with such an authentic sense of brand awareness and self of the Virgin Company.
Yeah. So just then, as a call to action for people, I guess whether they're individuals,
Hmm.
maybe somebody going out there for a job or an individual working in an organization or a company itself, as a call to action, kind of understanding authentic communication, what are some steps that people can take to really become aware of what that means for them and how they're portraying themselves?
Yeah. So I think primarily I would say be sure to ask yourself, how am I showing up and how is it aligned with what I say and what I value? That's the important thing. Like, know thyself, understand how you're showing up and make sure it's according to your values. Um, and the second takeaway I would say is, um, make space for silence and for being grounded so you can continue to reflect back. How am I feeling today? How am I acting today? Is this in alignment with who I am in the moment? We're always changing. We're always changing. Our
Yeah.
values are always changing and our interests are always changing and everything. But without having that time to be like, who am I today? You may fall out of alignment. So the quietness to reflect is as important as the authenticity to your voice.
What about where does honesty fall in that, in terms of how another form, honesty, trust, another form, another bridge to connect with whoever's receiving that message? Can you speak to that too?
Well, honesty is recommended in all aspects, unless it's unkind, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
you know, um, I don't know. That's a rabbit hole that we could dive into about how authentic, when honest, how honest, if you're
Yeah.
selling a thing, like, do you tell like the bold truth? Some brands have and have
Yeah.
won massive like attention for it, but I don't know. That's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, and listen, just that caveat that it is a rabbit hole is enough for me, but it is interesting because I see companies that are honest with their customers, they are honest with their employees. Like they demonstrate that they trust that their employees can handle it, whatever they're sharing. Again,
Yeah.
we have to stay at the vague just because we're so far removed from many examples. But it is incredible how just that authentic, when I hear authentic communication, something that comes up is trust. Another thing that comes up is that honesty of really
Yeah.
demonstrating where you're at instead of just kind of demonstrating some elevated status or that everything is okay.
Right.
Because so many people, the other side of it is we're talking about authentic communication, but the other side of it is how much people pick up,
Yeah.
how easily they can pick up whether you're being authentic in your communication or not.
Absolutely. And to that specific point, if we go back to COVID times, I was a guest speaker on in a conversation about crisis communications. And I think the point that I made that surprised people the most was, if you don't know what the answer is, say that. I don't
Yeah.
know where we're going now. I don't know what it's going to look like in 2 weeks, but we're here. We're going to figure it out. I want you to know I'm on your side, whatever the message is. But admitting that you don't know for
Mm.
some people is a very scary thing, but is very authentic if it's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't pretend that you got the answer if you don't.
Yeah. And people know, people can see, people can read body language. They can read the way that you move through the office. They can read between the lines of your writing.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's another leg to that chair of authentic communication again, if you will, is respect.
Right.
Like know that
Yeah.
they're mature enough, that you can respect them enough to know that they can handle it. But oftentimes, like they can see right through you. You can't fool so many people. Depending on what arena you're in or how many people you have to speak to, you can't fool everybody.
That's right.
So I love that that piece of it is there, that honesty of, listen, I don't know where we stand. I don't know what might come out of this,
Yep.
but we have all of you or this team. So we understand that we can work through this and figure it out together. And I mean, speaking from a leadership standpoint, I feel people would respect that, like you said, because they'd rather follow somebody that says, I don't know the answers, but I have you guys, let's figure this out together, as opposed to somebody that's charging in some direction because they think that's the way it's supposed to look, that they're supposed to have some kind of direction, some kind of directive to give to people.
Yeah. Leadership is complicated, but it's important to remain humble and stay authentic and admit when you don't know what you don't know. So, and then learn through it.
Yeah. Jess, is there anything you want to share? Anything about the topic that we haven't talked about? Anything about your work, about what you're up to? Anything at all? The floor is yours.
Thanks.
Anything.
Um, all I just want to leave people with is just, be your best self. Um, and whatever that means to you, whether that means, continue to do your work on your heart and on your being. Um, I think a lot of people nowadays don't. I think a lot of people nowadays, at least within our community, know to do that work. I think it's important though to remind people, we all evolve, and you've got to be a participant in that. You can't just let it happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing is too, I mean, you mentioned our community, how we know each other through the Connects Exchange and SIP sessions and all the community locally in the Hartford region. I feel like authentic communication is a muscle that you practice.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
everything that you're sharing, yes, is you, but like we talked, like you can't go in guns blazing with everything you are. You, like you said, you have to play to the room. You have to see who your audience is. You have to see, what kind of decorum you need that's acceptable.
Yeah.
It's not compromising, but if you want to go in and influence people, you kind of have to meet them where they're at, where they need. Um, so again, it's a muscle. And I would say just the power of community. I want to thank you and Rebecca and all my friends from all these different groups because you've allowed me to authentically communicate who I am. I can be completely myself around you guys. So I think it's important to, even if you can't do it, you feel like you can't do it in your organization or your business for whatever reason, find those areas where you get to work out that muscle of your authenticity and share who you are. And then you can go back to these other places and do just that. But just because you feel shut down in one area doesn't mean that you should give up on that authenticity of communicating what's important to you, your values, virtues, whatever it may be. It's an exercise. It's a muscle that you constantly have to work at.
That's right. That's right. Bravo.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much for joining me in this conversation again. I'm going to have you again on the other series so we can
Okay.
talk about actually your journal. Why don't you talk about your journal for a minute or two? We got some time. So
So
how
I
did this come to be?
so part of my authentic self is that I believe in good energy and in good karma, and believe that we can manifest, all that we need in our lives. And so this is a journal that I published to um, give people a tool that they can use to not only put it down to paper, but also it includes prompts about ways to think about, well, what do I want to see in my life? How do I want it to show up? And it's just a more formalized way of doing something that's borderline magical.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible since we spoke, right? You mentioned in that last podcast we did in 2021, you're like, "Oh, I don't know if you're going to believe in this, John. It may be too woo for you," right? But no, I do believe in magic in terms of just what you have the power to do in your through your words.
Yeah,
I have to get better about it when it comes to myself and manifesting for myself. But I think there's so much magic in what you can do for other people and what you can share and what you share with them that you see in them and what you ask them and how you really do see them. Because we move through the world trying to make it through, trying to survive, reacting to what's coming at us without really thinking proactively of how we communicate, like this conversation.
right.
Um, with other people. So I appreciate that. And I'm learning even more just the value of really stepping into what it is you want.
Yeah.
Again, I think we operate by default in survival mode that we have to really get into that proactive mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other point though, when you have a tool like a journal to use as you manifest, it actually doubly, triply reinforces the your ability to bring things forward. There is literally a scientific proof that it's connected to your brain power when you write things down. That's why, like, when you check things off of a list, it feels so good. It's all related. It's all
I laugh because I'm the kind of person where if I had a list and I've been doing stuff and I did more stuff that was on the list, I will throw the stuff on the list just to check it off.
Yeah, I
Just
know,
to
me
check
too.
it off.
I've got checklists all
Uh,
over the place. I love it.
no, but I agree wholeheartedly. There's something about writing it down,
Yeah.
getting it out of your mind, speaking it out with a partner. So,
Speaking
no,
it
I
out
look forward.
when strangers are around. I can't this is another
Yeah,
conversation and another rabbit hole, but so many times I can give you examples of things that happened because I said it in out loud in a stranger setting with, and things just manifested and materialized.
yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. We talk about authentic communication in our group, like the meetings that I can catch up with you guys. You've
Yeah.
seen, like, I just say what's on my mind. Um, and there's something to that.
Yeah.
There's something. I'm the same way as you, where I may have been extra shy when I was a kid, and now if I'm in an environment where I don't know anybody, I see like I find a joy in reaching out and talking to somebody that I don't know, a stranger.
Yep.
Because even a stranger, wherever you are, whether you're in a waiting room, on a train, this or that, unless you're walking by each other randomly, every other environment you're in, you have something in common to some extent. So I appreciate you bringing up that power that it doesn't matter where you are. There's a lot of magic, really magic,
Yeah.
that you can impact and influence your environments with. So thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
You're the best. Thank you for being here. And if there's anything that I might have missed, let me know. There's so much to talk about, a lot of rabbit holes. I think we marked 3 or 4 rabbit holes we could have gone down, but we're trying to keep this thing under 30 minutes. If there's anything I might have missed, please let me know. I'll reach out to Jess, see what kind of information, guidance, wisdom I can get back. In the meantime, if there's anything you need from me, reach out. But please listen, please subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.